and they are a little bit more complicated, but not a lot. I would put them squarely in the easy category. If you don't have an embroidery machine, you can use a Cricut. There's nothing wrong with it, just not the look I was going for. Special thanks to Kid and K Boulevard, whose video helped me learn how to do this. I'm making my own A to show you how I did it, because there's some other techniques that I use that are a little different, and B, I wanted to document the ones that I was making for my Run Disney race season. So come on, let's go look, see how I do it. Materials. I used 2 yards each of a contrasting color and a white of satin. Just got at Joann's. 2 yards of interfacing approximately. I have a bolt, so I just cut it to size, and something to make the lettering, whether it be a Cricut or your embroidery machine. With the long ends together, I refolded the satin to be able to cut these in a more efficient manner. I didn't want to have to cut it on one 72-inch go. I folded them up so that I could cut them in shorter chunks, but still have that long sash at the end. Now here, you're just going to want to make sure that the edges are all lined up. It's not such a big deal on this one if you use a 6-inch ruler, because one side will make, a nice clean side, and then you do the other with the 6-inch. And just make sure between each cut that your edges are all still lined up, and you'll have, I believe, 6 perfect sashes, 6 inches in width. Just clean up the sides, very little waste for that as contrasting color. Then you're going to take your white, and these are going to be 4 inches wide. So you'll want to make sure that you either use a 4-inch ruler, or I just repurposed my 6-inch and made cuts. I believe this gave me 8. I don't know, we'll count in just a moment. But making sure that the edges, if you're going to use this method, instead of making one long cut, making sure the edges are aligned before you start your next one is the best way to make sure that this time-saving step that I did really translates to actual time saving and not crooked sashes, because that sounds like something I would do. Luckily, there's not a lot of waste to doing it this way with these measurements as well. So we get a nice clean cut, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the white and 6, 7? Oh, I don't know, a lot of the purple. So get out your trusty iron. This is my Rowenta. I love it. Set it to satin so we don't burn, and check all the edges of your newly cut pieces and make sure they're all even. Then we want to measure, make sure that we're not cutting too much interfacing. If you don't have a bolt and you have it pre-cut, you can just make sure that you have the right amount. I measured, and then I cut the amount of interfacing that I needed. And I hate that paper. Who hates that paper? Comments in the chat. Who hates it? Then I'm going to fold this exactly the same way as I did the satin and make 4-inch cuts, because it's going on the back of the white fabric or the ivory fabric, no matter which one you got. The cool thing about this is you can do 2 4-inch cuts, and you'll get, I doubled this up, so I got, those were 2 and this is 4, and then that fold over is 4 inches exactly. So you've got 2, I don't know, a bunch, and with just 2 cuts, it's nice. All right, get out your ironing pad or wherever you iron and line up the newly cut interfacing on the back of your satin, shiny side down. Anchor the interfacing at the top first before you iron the whole thing, and then definitely check to make sure you're aligned going down. It's not so much of a big deal because the sides get caught in the seam. You'll want to make sure that everything came out right. It's a really easy iron out if there's any bubbles. Even though you can use something like a Cricut, I'm using my embroidery machine, my 6 needles specifically. You'll want to find halfway, anchor this on after you've made your design, and make sure it's tacked down real well. So, and get it ready for the machine. Enjoy some ASMR machine noises. And, I don't know about you, but I could listen to my embroidery machine all day. So once it's done, I think it looks pretty good. No matter what it looks like, you'll want to take the shiny sides of your satin and clip or pin them together. Yeah, one is bigger than the other. How's that work? Well, you're going to want to clip each side even with each other. And that means there'll be a gap where the blue is. And you'll see why once it's done. This is kind of a trust the process moment. So line them up, pin or clip. You'll notice that I won't put on more than 2. And there's that gap I talked about. Because I don't use clips or pins when I sew for the most part if it's a straight line. So I'm not going to do it. We're just going to go right over to my machine and I'm going to stitch it together. This is my Bernina B77. It's my main machine. I love it so much. So we're going to use this to sew our sashes together. You're just going to do a straight stitch down each side. Again, satin the finished sides together. And there might be a little left over at the end. There was for me. They weren't exactly even, but just lock it in at the top and kind of get into that zen straight line sewing. Alrighty, it's almost done. So you're gonna turn it inside out, which is always both my favorite and least favorite part of any project, because I seem to do it with varying degrees of success the first time around. So this one is actually not so hard. It's just wide enough that it's not a big deal. You just have to kind of clear out the middle and use that to pull the sash through. I did admittedly use the beat the sash against the table method. It definitely is quick, but it wasn't so bad. Once that's done, you're gonna take your sash, which already looks like a sash, if you might notice, and you're just gonna iron it once more. And that really brings out the sash in it. It brings out the sash. And you'll just iron it along the embroidery or the cricket. If you did a cricket, please be careful around your cricket design. And make sure the sides are relatively straight, but they kind of do that on their own. And you have your sash. And then you're going to want to trim the ends. You can use either just a regular set of scissors, or my preferred method for satin is pinking shears. It makes those cutesy little triangle peaks, but more importantly, it keeps it from fraying, which satin is wont to do. So you'll do one end and then you'll do the other. It just makes it much easier. You'll see those edges fraying already, even just since I sewed it about 2 seconds earlier. And then it's time to just finish the edges. Some people put these at an angle. I wasn't keen to do that, so I just folded them in to make them straight across and ironed it down just to make it easier for when I did a stitch across. Folded them in, just in case you missed it the first time. And then ironed it down. It just makes it easier. Then you don't have to pin it, and if it comes out of the pin or the clip and it pops open, and you're just save yourself the frustration and iron it closed. But don't fold it like I did, because I had to re-iron that. There we go. Look how pretty and sash-like that looks. Right? It's back to the machine just to sew up the ends. It's just another straight stitch. On the other sashes I did lock it in, but this one's for me, so I will admit I just did one quick swoop and called it a day. Easy peasy. Once that's done, you're gonna get out your snips and you're gonna trim not only the edges, right, any stray threads, but if you embroidered it, you're gonna want to trim between the letters, because if there's anything that bothers me with embroidery, it's when there's still little lines between the letters. Blah. Not my favorite. And Viola. we're done. Look at that. I love it so much. Okay. I think that came out pretty well. Tell me what you think in the comments. If you have, I don't know why my voice got so high. Tell me what you think in the comments. Did you like how this came out? Would you like to do one of your own? I'd love to see it if you made one based on this tutorial or on the original one that I have linked below in the description. Let me know. So happy sewing, and I hope you enjoyed today's, is it an episode? I don't even know that it's an episode, but I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. So, what will I was muted. We'll try that again.